Hey, what's up? How's it going? I want to talk to you a little bit about this thing I receive in the comments a whole lot. Like, why is art so hard? Why is drawing so hard? That comes up in the comments, and it kind of seems ridiculous to some people. But I do want to address it, and I want to give you my opinion on kind of what I've seen and the thresholds of how hard something is, and learning and learning in my experience. So stick around to the end. I am going to try to describe and address this as best as I can from seeing people learn. So let's get started. So right off the bat, I'm going to be doodling in front of you. I'm going to be inking this thing more or less just for fun. This unfinished drawing, I'm going to ink it just so you're not staring at a complete blank screen for your benefit while I'm talking, while I'm ranting. So in terms of how hard something is, I feel you. Everybody's been there. Everyone feels it. And it is weird and it's frustrating to see someone online. I see that with people as well. It's like you see someone on YouTube, or you see somebody like a concept artist, and they are doing like just doodling, right? They're doodling, and that looks better than something that I would do or you would do, or it just looks better than what you're working on, and you're like, what? You're like, what is going on here? Why? Why is that person so good? Or that it gives you the illusion that they don't really had that problem with other things, and that's not always true. And clearly, they've been through that process. There's a kind of point at which some of this stuff becomes, I think, perceptively harder. I would say in the beginning, if you're painting or drawing purely for fun, and that's great. That's absolutely fine. And your skill level is where you're just happy of where it is. I have friends of mine who paint and doodle purely for fun. They draw like little flower shapes, and they're like, wow, that's really nice. And it's a purely relaxing thing to do. I would find that usually the part at which it becomes frustrating would be when you're trying to upgrade your skill. Whether it be overall, or you're trying to tackle an aspect of art that you haven't been really successful in yet. And that is when the frustration kicks in. I mean, right off the bat, if you've been drawing for a while, you know this, and you try to tackle a new subject. For example, let's say you were drawing portraits, and now you're going to draw anatomy, and you really need to learn that. You're used to doing like pretty decent portraits, or you're used to drawing faces pretty well, and you know at what speed you can do them at. The first frustrating thing that I hit personally, and what I've seen in students, is this dedication to like how long this new thing will take. So if you're drawing heads and you're pretty good at it, and you're like, oh, it seems to go pretty swift, you get a decent head, and then you're doing anatomy, or you're doing like backgrounds, or you're doing automotive stuff, all of a sudden you're going slow again, like really, really slow. And it's that right off the bat is frustrating for a lot of people. So it's like, what? This is taking so long, and it's not even that good. That's a thought. And you know as well as I know that is just the first few dozen, 100 drawings of whatever topic. That will get easier over time, and you will get faster over time. And you know that. And it's hard going back to that, especially if you've been through it. That's more of an intermediate issue. At the beginning, everything is kind of, like I always say this, everything's hard in a way to learn, but it's also kind of, for some people it can be boring, but for some people it's immensely fun, and you only have up, really. So in the beginning, when you don't know how to draw at all and you're learning this stuff for the first time, you're only getting better by drawing. You're only getting better because you got to work on everything. So, it's the sky's the limit in the beginning. That usually when you're having to refine stuff as an intermediate and choosing what to concentrate on, that's when it starts to get a little bit, choosy and a little bit possibly frustrating for some people. Not everybody, but for some. There's a book called that I read in a book club. I'm in a book club right now. I don't run it, but I participate in it. And in this book club, we read a book called Predictably Irrational, and it comes across with a couple of cool tips. And one of them was that, basically one tidbit they're talking about was that some people, when they first start anything, it will be they'll do it out of passion, and they come at it with a veracity like no other. And when it starts to become work, let's say, or let's say it starts to become hard, you start hitting that first plateau. That's when you start looking at it differently, and you're like, oh man, it's not as fun for them anymore. Things just change at that level when it's not just for the heck of it anymore. So, but as long as you're aware of this stuff, you can really being aware is the first step in kind of like being like, okay, I'm just going through this now, and then you try to find more ways to make it fun again, and like what we were attracted to it in the beginning, and don't lose that. But being aware of it is the biggest part of it. But so for me personally, for example, it is such a hit to the ego. I know that that's a big thing with people when someone knows how to draw one thing really well, or a couple of things really well, and then all of a sudden they're a white belt at something else. You know, they're a white belt. They have to go to, like I said, if you're drawing the figure all the time, and all of a sudden you're drawing automotive engines and stuff, you're like, wow. Or backgrounds even. That's a big one with people. People hate backgrounds, right? People love drawing figures generally, and some people are the reverse. That can be annoying. And so the process I've seen for myself, and again for students, would be you're drawing something new and you're like, wow, that sucks. Or it's okay. You're like, that's not that good. It's all right, you know. Don't know it well enough yet, or that took forever. Then you start drawing a few dozen more, maybe sometimes a few hundred more, usually a few hundred more. And then you go to like, it's okay. You know, it's going pretty, you know, it's starting to look like what it is. It's decent. It's a template. But there's no oomph in it, right? There's no like really good, it's not a good, I mean, it's an adequate drawing, but it's not a good drawing, you know? Then you will sometimes cross that threshold of like, that's a pretty advanced drawing. And usually that threshold is so gradual because you've gone through so many dozens and dozens of drawings. It's so gradual, it's going to be really hard for you to see it. Not always. Again, there's exceptions to everything. But usually, I didn't even know when I crossed that threshold of like being pretty good at like portraitures, like being really good. I didn't know that till my teacher had told me, because he hadn't seen me draw in a few years, and he was like, "Whoa, like you're way better, like way better." And I was like, "Oh, really?" I didn't even. It was such a gradual thing, but it's kind of like, it's not. I think people expect it to be instant, like. You practice, you know, you kind of like, you don't even think about the practice so much, and then boom, one day you're like awesome or something, or like really good. It's not like that. It is so gradual. It is such a gradual thing that it's going to be a little bit hard for you to compare. That's why I always say in other videos, save your old drawings. You got to save your old drawings to look at that, like what you did like 3 years ago, and you're like, whoa, I am better. It didn't feel like it. So just to kind of summarize, you work on stuff, it will take longer, but you will speed up over time, naturally, as you practice over and over again, and things will get better. And don't get frustrated. What you have to do is just keep, I don't like using this word, but I'll say keep grinding, you know, keep pushing it. You don't have to push anything too hard. Just like try to make it fun for yourself, and you won't have to push that hard. You're just gonna want to do it. And by the way, and I've said this before, motivation comes through action. Don't be like, I'm gonna wait to be inspired. Just start doing it, and then like usually inspiration kicks in partway through the warm-ups for me. Anyway, you just start doodling, you start moving your hand, just start doing anything. You're like, oh, okay, then you just start getting it, and then you know your mood changes, and you really start pushing it, and you're like, you know, I should do this. That comes after action. Action first. Anyways, that's it. Thank you so much, guys. That was just a little thing on the topic. I appreciate everybody in the comments. Whoever is timestamping, that is amazing. Oh my God, you are an amazing person. But yeah, what are the last announcements? I have a Patreon. If you do like the stuff I talk about on here, drawing, etc., there's a lot of different stuff on my Patreon. You can go check out different tiers. I'll put that in the description. Usually what I do is I change the description a day later. I don't know why I like doing that. And that is all. Thank you so much, guys. I will talk to you in the next video. Oh, one last thing is the free ebook on shading. I'm going to put that in the description as well. So you can download that below if you have trouble with shading. There's usually what it is usually what it is if you can shade 3 objects, you should be able to technically shade anything. And I go over that in that free ebook. That's in the description below. And if you're a total beginner, like if you're a complete beginner, I have a link of a series of free videos. I know some is junk, right, to announce, but there's a series of 5 or 6 videos. If you are such a beginner, you're having a hard time holding the pencil, go to that, and that's going to be in the description for a pure beginner, if you want to kind of build from the ground up correctly. So thank you so much, and I will see you tomorrow, guys. Later.